Welcome to DeFi Crypto today. Our topic today is OlympusDAO. What the hey is that, you say? It's a very interesting protocol. It's been around since April, I believe. And it's very different from a normal liquidity pool or a normal DeFi that you've encountered. So, we're going to explain a little bit how it works. It's based on game theory and bonding and all that good stuff. So, first of all, it has been audited. The audit is okay, but there's a lot of risk involved, and you should use caution when you invest in this. As I always say, don't put all your money on a single project, and I'll explain what the risks are. There's several risks involved, and you need to be prudent. But if you do this right, it can be very, very profitable. So let's dive in. So this is the main page. I highly recommend you read the documentation. We're going to have a quick look at that in a moment. You enter the app over here. So far there's been 1.8 million OHM tokens. The OHM is the OlympusDAO token. So 1.8 million tokens were staked. The treasury has 200 million right now. That treasury belongs to the OHM owners. And it has a very fantastic 7,258% APY at the moment. And the APY was much greater earlier, but they wanted to keep high interest as long as possible for people, so they lowered it, okay, in order to extend the period of high interest. So let's have a look at the documentation. They have a system here where they explain on a video what they're doing. Basically, the OHM token is backed by a basket of assets. So you got DAI, you got fracs, and others being added all the time. And they stay in the Olympus treasury, the DAO treasury, okay, which gives it intrinsic value, and the OHM token cannot go below that value. So it's kind of an insurance. It's cannot go down to zero unless there's nothing in the treasury, okay? But as long as there's money in the treasury, it's going to go to be valuable, okay? So it has its own unique economic and game theory dynamics, okay, which are explained in detail in the documentation. I'm not going to explain every single detail. You should read this to get an understanding of it, okay. So the point of this is they wanted to create a token, okay, that is not based on that has it's backed by some value, and that value is not pegged to the US dollar or in their fiat currency. That was the point of this, okay? Now, market participants are invited to stake or bond, okay? Stakers put their OHM tokens to earn more OHM tokens, okay, at the 7,000% APY at the moment. And bonders provide LP or DAI tokens in exchange for discounted OHM tokens for a fixed vesting period. So if you want to buy the OHM token at a discount, you can do that by providing LP or DAI tokens to purchase bonds, okay, that are vested for a while, okay. Now these bonds are the way that the protocol creates earnings, okay, and increases the value of its treasury. okay, and that allows them to be able to buy back the own tokens if they have to, and to mint new bond tokens. So it's explained in greater detail. If you want to ask them to explain it to you, because it's a little bit different and complex, you're highly invited to join the Discord channel. Okay, a lot of people there that can explain it to you. It's a pretty popular Discord channel right now. So they explain a lot of details here that we don't need to see. Okay, so let's talk a little bit. Let's see if we can see the game theory. Okay, so the OHM is not a stable coin by any stretch of the imagination. That's one of the risks that I mentioned earlier. The price of the OHM token fluctuates greatly. Okay, hundreds of dollars per day, up and down. Okay, so if you don't have the stomach for a roller coaster, don't invest in this. Okay, because some people that would be scary. The point of this is not to buy today and try to sell tomorrow. The point is you buy today, you stay for the long term. You can take it out anytime you want, but the longer you stay, the greater your earnings. Okay, simply because of the magic of compound interest. Okay, not sure if there's a graph of this here, but if there is, I'll show it to you. The idea is that with compound interest, it starts slow, and after let's say 6 months, then you start seeing really high returns. Okay, your money practically doubles every couple of months. Okay, but the first few months, like you're wondering if you're going anywhere. Okay, keep the best strategy, in my point of view, okay, is to just buy a little bit of tokens, leave them there, okay, and wait a year. Okay, that's how I'm playing it. Okay, I'm not putting my whole portfolio on this because it's too risky. I'm putting a tiny bit of my portfolio on this. Okay, why? Because I think it's a very interesting protocol, but it's very risky. Okay, it has been audited, so the code seems to be solid. It's been around since April. No major setback as far as I know. Okay, doesn't mean that tomorrow a hacker's not going to go in there and wreak havoc. What you need to do is use prudence. Okay, and if you feel like testing this project, put a little bit of money in there and see what happens. But keep it. The idea is to keep it for the long term. Okay. So now they have a game theory. They use 3-3-1-1, whatever. So what essentially, they explain in greater detail here, but essentially what it means is that you get what's the most profitable for everybody, the individual investor and the protocol, okay, is to stake. So you stake your tokens. That's how you earn the most profit, and that's how the protocol earns the most profit as well. Okay, there's bonding, which is also good for the protocol. Okay, and if you sell whatever, well, that's less good for the protocol and less good for you as well. Okay, so they explain this in greater detail, and you can figure it out. Okay. All right, so they explain a lot of details about this and so on. I'm not going to read all this to you. You can read it yourself. Okay, so let's have a look at the actual protocol. So we go in the app. Now, this is on Ethereum, okay? And so you need to set up your MetaMask for Ethereum. So I'm on Ethereum right now. Okay. You stake your token, your OHM tokens, and what you get is a sOHM, staked OHM token in exchange. Okay. Now that staked OHM token could be used on another protocol, and you could theoretically borrow against it. There's a couple places that I'll show you. However, that's extremely risky, and you can lose all your money very, 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 very fast. And I'll explain why that's so risky. So anyway, so it gives you an idea of the current APY, the total TLV. There's over $1 billion of TLV at the moment. Okay. And what we have right now is, so basically the way I've got 9 OHM staked at the moment, and every three times per day, every 8 hours, and now it tells me that there's 2 hours 25 minutes less before the next rebase. A rebase is the time when interest is compounded on my staked tokens. Okay. So I'm going to get this much sOHM on top of my total sOHMs, which is equivalent to about 0.3924% every 8 hours. Okay. Now, to give you an idea, over 5 days, you're getting, let me make it bigger because it's difficult to see, we're going to get about 6% return on investment over 5 days. So multiply that by 6, that's 36% per month, okay, that you get on your staked OHMs, which is pretty fantastic. Okay, don't forget, still very risky. Okay, the price of the token goes up and down like a yo-yo. Okay, if you look even during a 24-hour period, you can see that the price fluctuations are pretty wild, from 550 to 650 and back and up and down like this. You know, just a few weeks ago it was like around 400, and a month before it was around 200, and so on. So right now we're on an upward trend, luckily. Okay, but that doesn't mean it's not going to crash at some point like it did, let me get, like around here in August. For some reason it crashed in August. One thing that I noticed that's a little bit strange about this token is that if Bitcoin goes up, this thing goes down, and if Bitcoin goes down, the trend is generally up on the OHM token. Don't take this, it's not 100% accurate, but that's the trend that I noticed. Okay, around this time Bitcoin was going up quite a bit and the OHM token was crashing, and now we're a little bit of a, you know, bearish sentiment on the Bitcoin token at the moment, and the OHM is going up to the moon, right? So in my case, when the market was crashing, my OHM were going up, so my, you know, it was counterbalancing the losses I had on some tokens. So it's kind of an interesting way to diversify your portfolio. Okay, I haven't had huge crashes in my portfolio despite the downturns the last few weeks, which is nice also. Anyway. But I don't know if this trend is going to last or not. Okay, that's just something I observed in the last few months. Okay, generally this thing goes down when Bitcoin goes up, and it goes up when Bitcoin goes down. It's not accurate. It's a general tendency that I noticed. Okay, don't bet your last dollar on this. Okay, don't borrow your on your house to buy this token. Okay, so let's go back to the website. Now, another very interesting page is the dashboard, which gives you a lot of data about the protocol. Okay, so the total market cap of all the ohms is 1.25 billion. The current price is 634. Circulating current index. The index is if you had the ohms since the very beginning, you would have 18 times more ohms today just by staking. That's the point they're trying to make. So right now, total value locked has been going up a lot since August. For a while, it was pretty low, and then it shot up, okay, considerably. Around this time, a lot of investors were very nervous because it was going down, and just stick to it. Okay, if you want to play with this protocol, think long term. Okay. All right. Total market value of treasury assets. So right now the treasury has over $200 million in it. Okay. Risk-free value of treasury assets. So in there's $55 million of risk-free assets, meaning they have DAI and FRAX that are pegged to the dollar, and they're probably never going to go down in value much. Okay, that's what they mean by risk-free assets. Now, protocol-owned liquidity. All the liquidity is pretty much owned by the protocol. 92% of home owners are staking. Now, you can see that the APY, while it's still at 7,100% right now, it used to be much higher. Okay, at the beginning it was super high, and then it went down and down and down. The reason for this is here they wanted to stretch the runway as much as possible, so they're trying to keep the interest very high for about for at least a year. Okay, that's the point of this, as far as I understand it. Okay, so it's not a complicated protocol. Okay, the easiest and probably simplest and best strategy in my point of view is you buy some OHM tokens and you stake them and you just wait. Okay, the compounding will do its magic, and in a year you'll have a lot more OHM tokens than you had at the very beginning. How many exactly, I don't know. It depends if those interests stay stable or not. Okay. All right. So I recommend you have a look at their. You probably should follow their Twitter and their Discord channel as well. If you have questions, they have a very active Discord community. Now let's look at riskier things we can do with our staked ohms. So if we go to the Rari Capital website, they have a couple of pools where the staked ohms could be used as collateral, okay, for a loan. All right, so there are two different pools. Pool number 6 allows you to have up to 76% LTV, loan to value ratio, while pool number 18 only allows you 33% LTV. What does this mean? Is that if you use your staked ohm, the sOHM, as collateral on pool 18, and the price of ohm fluctuates wildly, which it does every day, and it goes down to below your threshold at 33% LTV, you get liquidated. Okay, so on pool 18, it's super easy to get liquidated. Okay, and I think a lot of people have been doing that earlier this year, and that's why the price of the OHM token crashed quite a few times. Okay, so not something for the faint of heart, and not something for the stupid. Okay, if you basically borrow the maximum, you're gonna get liquidated, guaranteed, 100%. Okay, don't do that. Okay, if you plan on using pool 18, I don't know, maybe because it could be because of the interest rates here. Let's compare the interest rates. They're a lot better. Yeah, the interest rates here are much higher. They're on average 30-some% here. And if we look here, the interest rates are a lot less on the borrowing side. Okay, so you pay less on the interest, but your chances of liquidation are sky high. On the other hand, if you're on pool 6, you pay double in the interest. Okay, don't forget you're still earning 7,000% on your staked home, but you have also 76% LTV, so it's more than twice as much room, okay, for market fluctuations. Okay, so don't stake too much. Okay, use your brain. Okay, and if you plan on using leverage like this, okay, don't be too close to the liquidation limit. Be as far down as possible. Okay, now this is all on Ethereum, right? So don't forget to take into account gas fees, okay, which are very high at the moment, thanks to NFT craze. So what most people plan on doing here is basically they've got their staked homes, they use them as collateral, they borrow against the collateral, okay, and let's say they buy USDT or DAI or whatever, and they swap that, buy more OHM, stake them on OlympusDAO, and add to the collateral here and borrow again back and forth like this, a few cycles. Okay, that's one way to maximize your very high APY on OlympusDAO. However, it's very, very, very risky. A lot of people lost their homes on this. Okay, so be wary of that and be careful. So there's another place when you're lucky, you can stake your homes and use your staked homes and borrow stable coins against it. It's at Abracadabra Money. I'm going to make a video about this. So Abracadabra Money makes some MIMS, which means magic internet money. It's a new protocol. As far as I know, it's not audited yet. Hopefully it will be. But it's very interesting. The project is well programmed. Let's see if we can get, okay, right now, if we had any ohms that we wanted to stake, we cannot get any MIMS. Okay, we cannot get any of the MIM tokens at the moment, so we cannot use the borrowing features, but I'll show it to you anyway, because I like the way it's programmed. It's very user-friendly and very smart. So let's say you add some ohm, okay, that you staked already. You need to wrap them, okay, and then you could to use them as collateral. So you use them as collateral. Now you can go up to 70% your liquidation could happen at 70%. Okay, so you don't want to go too close to 70%. Okay, why? Because as I said many times today, the OHM token fluctuates wildly. So maybe something more reasonable would be around 25%. Okay, why risk losing the whole pot? Okay, your chances of success are much greater here. You can sleep at night probably around 20-25%. Okay, think about that. Now you could change the leverage. Okay, yeah, blah blah blah. And this is very interesting. Now remember what I said about on Rari. What people do is that they stake their ohms, they borrow against it. They take the tokens that they borrow, like DAI for instance, and then they swap them for ohm tokens, redeposit them as collateral, borrow again what they can against that, and so on and so forth, and perform some cycles. So here, well, loops or cycles, whatever. Here they call them loops. You could go up to 10 loops, okay, which does increase your risk. But it does increase your APY. What they do is that they automatically take your MIM tokens, convert them into wrapped staked ohm tokens, and borrow against them, and back and forth like this 10 times. You can choose 6 times or whatever. You can choose whatever you want. Okay. So, and all you have to do, okay, is hit one button and it's all done. So just be careful when you do this so that you don't get too close to liquidation, okay. Typically you would have an expected liquidation price here, then you look at that price before you hit the button and say, okay, does it look very likely that I'm going to get liquidated or not? Okay, so you can, use your own judgment and figure out if the risk is low, the liquidation risk is low, then perhaps you want to do this. Biggest issue that I have with this Abracadabra protocol is that it's very darn difficult to get any MIM tokens for the ohm. And the staked ohm. Usually there's some available for other projects like the Alchemix and the curve pools and whatever, although we are not that much. But the staked ohm is practically always empty because it's probably the most attractive. So, and also what's very interesting is the interest, which the borrowing interest is pretty low. It's only 5.5%, okay, which in my view is a bargain. And that's probably why all those MIM tokens are always taken. Okay, now this column, that's your liquidation fee. So think about that. You're going to lose at least 12.5% of your assets, okay, if you get liquidated. So you might end up with not much at all, okay, at the end. Read the documentation first before you do any investments on this. I'll make another video about Abracadabra to explain a little bit more detail. But that's what you can do with your staked ohms, okay? All right, so in conclusion, it's a very interesting protocol. They have a new way of generating funds, and actually right now they have what they call the Olympus Pro project, which is basically bonding the bond system as a service. So if you have a project and you'd like to get funded in a different way using bonding, you can contact the Olympus people, and they might be able to help you out, okay? And you'll have a bonding system, okay, that's going to work with Olympus. All right. Okay, so to recap, very risky, okay, but very interesting. And if you do this for the long term, okay, if you don't think about making a quick buck in the next day or two, okay, in the long term, if you stay staked for a year or so, you probably have a lot more OHM tokens at the end of the year than you started with, okay? Now be careful, the tokens fluctuate very wildly, and if you like gambling, use your staked OHM as collateral and borrow against them to reinvest or do whatever you want. Be aware that a lot of people lost their staked tokens and got liquidated because of the wild fluctuations of the OHM token. Okay, but it's possible. Those options are available to you. All right. So if you like this kind of stuff, please like and subscribe and ring the bell. Don't forget the free book. And you can download it for free, and it gives you ideas about less risky investment strategies with tokens. And if you prefer to give money to Jeff Bezos, you can go to Amazon and buy the book for $5.99, and Jeff will generously give me $1 later. All right, that's it for today. See you.